everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for being here with me. Please excuse me, I am still recovering from a cold, so I still sound a little bit hoarse, but we are getting on with a wonderful video today, breaking down Meghan Markle's worst see-through disasters of all time. We have messy mesh monstrosities, say that 3 times fast. We have shameful sheer travesties, and most of these I haven't ever covered on my channel before. We're gonna start things off today with this. Meghan Markle's engagement photo dress. Now this has a sheer top and the skirt looks only semi-sheer, like just barely sheer on the model, but it's very difficult to tell in the professional photos that they put out of their engagement pictures because Meghan and Harry only released 3 pictures from this day on this photo shoot, and only 2 of them were her dress visible. Part of why I've never covered it on my channel before is because there's not very many good images of it, but it's on theme today, so it's here. So it's a shimmery tulle ball gown with a sheer top that cost $75,000. That is crazy. It's an even weirder choice for the occasion. For engagement photos to do a full-blown ball gown, that's like, for any sort of an engagement photo, it's like a bit over the top. Yes? Is that just me? I just find this to be an extremely odd choice for engagement photo pictures. It just seems so strange. I can see a beautiful dress, even an elaborate dress, but something that's like an evening ball gown that's sheer seems very, very out of touch. Also, they released a statement that they wanted their engagement photos to be relatable and accessible. What part of this looks relatable or accessible for anybody? That seems like a total troll comment that they made. But obviously, since it's so expensive and so fancy, like I'm wondering, did she get any more wears out of this? Is this it? Was it just for these pictures and it's over? I'm just so confused. I don't know. I don't really like it for these pictures, for this occasion. I don't like it at all for this setting. So these super weird pictures and super weird poses were blamed on the fact that the gown was sheer. So it was an impractical choice as well, because then you have to be all super careful and strategic with how you posed so that she's not exposed in these pictures. So it doesn't even make sense as an option because it's difficult to get pictures where you're not exposed if you're wearing a sheer top. Obviously, it's not rocket science. You want nice pictures, things that are like focused on your union and your romance, not these sorts of weird things where it looks like they're tipsy, she's just hanging off Harry. It's just so strange. Also, like I said, it's a ball gown, like a real ball gown. So it doesn't really fit with the setting either. They're outside, walking in the grass. It looks out of place to the backdrop at which these photos are taken. I could see this gown working if they took photos inside one of the like palace rooms or something, or just even like on an elaborate chase lounge or something. I could see it working. But it's so long and so fancy, just wandering around outside, it looks so bizarre. So it's really difficult when looking at these pictures to really even reconcile what's happening or what they are for or what they mean. Even the pattern of it, these embroidery leaves that are like embroidered gold aren't very flattering in these pictures either, because she has her hair down and the mesh and the tulle and the ruffling, it's like just so many textures, plus they're outside. And the weird poses, like none of it feels congruent. I think the photographer did the best he could and did a good job of catching light in an interesting way and, you know, making lemonade out of these lemons that he was dealt that day. That this is what you're wearing for this? Okay. It's not the worst on this list of sheer disasters, but it's the worst probably for the occasion or for the setting. So it's a semi-sheer Ralph and Russo dress with feather detailing and a ruffled skirt. The tulle gown features a silk organza skirt, hand appliqued with silk tulle ruffles, and embroidered with gold thread work, so there's no doubt that this is beautiful. But like, for this occasion, no. She really didn't make any attempt to endear herself to the public either. They claimed they wanted these to be relatable, and it's just so out of touch. She did all sorts of things that really just pushed herself away from the public, which is what she was like I would think, hoping to win over by marrying one of the UK's princes and somebody that a lot of people in the British public really, really liked, or at least felt a connection to. So she should have been trying to win people over, and she just didn't even try. Can you imagine how differently she or they as a couple would have been received if she had just done, or they had just done, a smaller wedding and like had less problematic fussy clothes and expensive outfits, and like presentation matters. So especially for people like this in the public eye, and I think that they just presented themselves in the wrong sort of way to garner any degree of like public appreciation or compassion or sympathy or like at all. Like nobody liked them, in part because of how they presented themselves. I will say at least the mesh sleeves appear to be fitting her well, so they're not doing any sort of weird pulling or bunching, but also these are, like I said, the only photographs, so they are probably the best of the batch. Moving on to this Valentino dress at Misha Nono's wedding. I'm not sure exactly how to say it, so don't come for me in the comments. I've never covered this dress on my channel either, similarly because there's no real good pictures of it. But here's what it's supposed to look like. It is a Valentino dress. It's a tulle evening gown. And while it's a very beautiful artistic dress, it's really, really not the dress to wear as a wedding guest. So cringe, so strange. Also, can you imagine just how long it probably was on her, unhemmed and just dragging on the floor behind her? Just, I doubt she had it custom or tailored to fit her well, so it's probably a good thing we can't see the whole thing, or just, it would be horrible. I checked. This was not like a black and white wedding where she wanted people to wear black and white, including the ladies wear black is fine. It wasn't that. Most of the women who attended this wedding were wearing light pastel type colors, but no one else that I saw in the pictures was wearing black as far as the women go. And here's Meghan in black, sticking out like a sore thumb. It's just not a good dress for a wedding either. Even if it were in a lighter color, I'd be like, I don't know. It looks a little Halloween-y to me. It's very editorial. It's very deep plunge V-neck. I can't even. It's so messy looking, even in these pictures. And like I said, I get the artistic part of it, and it is very pretty in that way, but it does have a messy vibe, especially the sleeves. They look very messy, and the back of it. It's clearly an evening gown. It's just not appropriate for the occasion at all. It even has this like exposed back partially, and it's just sort of silly in this setting. I can't imagine how embarrassed I would feel wearing this as a wedding guest. It would be so mortifying. It's disrespectful to wear something black to someone else's wedding, unless that is the dress code, of course. It shows disrespect for the bride and groom. It shows disregard for the entire event, because in pictures, you're the one in dark colors or black. In the whole room, you're the one in black. And you're the only one in something that has such a heavy evening vibe rather than a wedding vibe. People are supposed to be looking at the bride, not your weird choice of dress. It's just tacky, attention-grabbing, ignorant, no matter. It's just such rude behavior. And here's the thing with sheer stuff. It can be really, really tricky. Whether it's mesh or tulle or something else, the fit is really essential in preventing it from looking messy. Sheer items that are meant to have a little bit more volume or room in the sleeve, for example, like a bishop type sleeve or puffed sleeves, for example, can be a lot easier to wear than something that's really snug fit that has to be just right. Because if it's too tight, you will see pulling and seams in other places. If it's too loose, it'll look really sloppy. Seams in general are also much more obvious on sheer tops or sheer clothing. They're going to add to the visual noise or the messiness of the piece no matter what, because any place where the fabric has a seam, it's going to draw the eye in because it's going to look like a harsh line. Also, again, whether or not it's appropriate is a really important note to make. For royals, it's decidedly not appropriate to wear something sheer, with the exception of like sleeves perhaps, or like up here in this area if it's done in the right way, like i.e. not completely strapless. But I think the fact that Meg wore things that were essentially strapless but had sheer fabric on top was her way of like cheating these rules, so to speak, and like try to like stick it to the, I guess, people who asked her to wear the right types of things for etiquette reasons, I guess. But let's move on. Next up on the list is this Givenchy dress in black again. So this dress actually has some features to it that can actually really help to balance her figure quite a little bit, although it's in black. And she had been briefed that royals are not to wear black except on certain occasions, and this was not one of those occasions, so it was rude in that aspect. So even though the dress itself seems fine in most ways, choosing something black was again just being anti for no reason. So it has a high slit, which is probably a bit too high. It's going up above the knee. So for a professional engagement representing the monarchy in some sort of diplomatic role, you don't want super high slits. It's just another disappointing middle finger to those who bankroll your lifestyle to do that. And she skipped the nylons as far as I can tell, so there's that too. But setting that aside, this dress is a cocktail style, so again, it's not great choice for the occasion, which she was attending the opening of an oceanic art exhibit, which sounds really, really cool. But anyway, it has these sheer billowy sleeves, which this time have a real cuff, so that's great. And the black color helps them to not look messy or unintentional the way the next look coming up does. You just wait. It also has an inverted triangle across the upper body here, which is in plush velvet, so it's a different texture. Now, this dress's construction is actually very smart for somebody without a well-defined waist, because the velvet triangle creates this illusion that is helped along by those sleeves becoming most voluminous down by the hip area. So all these aspects of the dress help to create the illusion of a better waist or a more well-defined waist. And although all these different textures can be a bit much and kind of start to look a little bit crafty or overwhelming, I think it works okay here because they are all in black and because their transition seems really smooth, but I don't think that this would work in a lighter color very well. So while it was really bad for a lot of etiquette reasons, the fit and the style did complement her well. So before we get to the worst sheer look I've ever seen her in, we have two honorable mentions. First, the see-through skirt problem. This outfit would have otherwise been just fine for her body type. It's so frustrating. If she had not pulled this stunt with the see-through skirt, it would have been fine. I really like the top. I like the length of the sleeves. I like the color. I like the fact that it doesn't hit her super duper high under the boobs. It hits her a little bit lower in the waistline. But wearing something that has exposed undies and leg and stuff is just so ridiculous for these families and in this setting. It was so inappropriate. Next, the Lion King premiere dress. Now, this was almost as bad as her super cringe behavior that day, just kind of asking or making Harry ask people to hire her for voiceovers. While at a premiere, how B-team can you get? That was just like the worst thing I had ever heard. But also, it just has all this pulling. It's clearly way too tight across that area, and she did something super weird with her boobs that day, so it just looked awful. And this area in the back, where it connects up at the top, just enhanced the appearance or the visual effect that it was too tight. It made it look like it was pulling really hard. They should have done a different design, or she really should have just chosen a different dress. I don't think that this dress was a good choice for somebody who has a wider frame at all. So let's get to the absolute worst sheer moment. Oh my gosh. For King Charles's 70th birthday, at the time he was Prince of Wales, Harry and Meghan attended a garden party in his honor only 3 days after their wedding. There were over 6,000 people there from charities and military organizations most closely linked to Charles, so it was a big party. And after only half an hour, some reports said 15 minutes, some said 40 minutes, Harry and Meghan left. And many sources claim that they were told to leave, escorted out, because Meg had whined it was boring, perhaps in earshot of others, I don't know. Regardless of why they left, you'll have to leave your theories in the comments. Let's take a look at this dress. I am not a fan of this dress for so many reasons. I really do not like the way this too loose mesh throughout the sleeves just look so messy and strange and weird. Plus, it's rather inappropriate. Again, you're not supposed to have bare shoulders and stuff like that. They explained that. This is essentially just a strapless dress with sheer overlay on top, like nylons on top. It's so silly. I think she was still in her I have to show my shoulders phase, which she got into leading up to the wedding, and I think it stuck around for a little while after the wedding. I'm just gonna show my shoulders every chance I can. I don't understand it. The color washed her out a little bit. in my opinion. I think something with just a little bit more color to it would have been nice. Also at garden parties, they often like slightly more colorful or fanciful outfits. Something a little more whimsical would have been nice. But it could be the mesh that's kind of sending it this washed out look rather than the actual color of the dress itself. But down at the cuff of the sheer sleeves, it looks so messy and bunched up, and it's at an awkward length too. So the sleeves read both too big around and too short in length at the same time, which is a lot to take in. Around the armpit area, there's like this strange pucker up here, likely due to some issue with wearing the wrong type of bra, wearing a padded strapless bra, but not at fittings, something like that. You know, she just wasn't wearing the same bra across the fittings as she is here, because this dress isn't designed to have that sort of weird puckering and lip sort of almost looks like this edge of it coming up. It should just skim right across the top of where your bust begins and be nice and straight and lay nice and flat, and it's not here. So there's something going on, and I suspect the bra, because we know how many bra problems this woman has. It could also be because they were having difficulty getting a good fit across the shoulders. Like, she probably had to get a size up for the mesh to even fit across the shoulders, which resulted in way too much room in the sleeve and the other weird problems that we're seeing. In comparison, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has worn this sheer sleeves to a garden party, but they're more like a bishop sleeve, where you have a cuff and you have this like looser, billowy fabric on purpose, and it works here because there's a defined cuff that sort of reins it in and anchors it. Not like this, where it just looks messy and unfinished. I also find the seams along the shoulder and the collar to be very distracting and add to this overall messy look. On a positive, I think her hairstyle is fine, and I think the length of the dress is just fine. I think that those two things worked well. I also think that the hat's all right. I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's definitely not the worst. Like those really small hats, or the like Zorro beach hats from Queen Elizabeth's Jubilee and then Funeral, I do not like those at all. I think that this is better than both of those styles of hat, for sure. But even from the back, it just looks really ill-fitting across the whole top half. The seam across the waist is also really widening with its curve that sort of comes down like this. It's a very widening effect across the waistline and through the back. It looks like she doesn't have proper shapewear on underneath, because you can see the indents of where her bra straps are across the back. When you are on display in these situations, if you are a royal, you know, you don't want those types of things. If you're on show for that day, you don't want it. In the pageant industry, you know, that's the time where you do pull out all the stops to make sure you have the smoothest of the smooth. Everybody understands that that's not real life, that those are show moments. And perhaps you're performing, or perhaps you're just doing something really important, but you're having these photographs taken. And as a royal, you are part of that country's culture and history. So your presentation is very, very important, and you should be pulling out all those stops for these types of moments. But regardless, I do like the volume that's in the skirt. It's not too much, it's not too little. I think it's really nice, and it allows for a decent balance overall if it weren't for the crazy mesh, which also just really draws your eye to it. Anytime you have texture, skin exposed, mesh, light colors, things like that, you're gonna go to it. So here you have this sheer, very upper body area across the shoulders and arms. So it's more exposed. You're gonna gravitate towards that. When you look at this dress, your eyes rest at her shoulders. They just do. That's where you stop. And so it creates an even wider effect and makes them look even broader when you see this outfit on her. It's definitely the worst sheer outfit I have ever seen her wear. What do you guys think? Be sure to subscribe so you do not miss the polls. I'll be asking you which one was your least favorite, and many more fun questions to come. Please click the like button as well if you enjoyed today's video. I appreciate it so very much. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I will see you in the next video. Have a happy day, everybody. Bye!